Today I'm going to go through adjusting your secondary twist angle on this 97 Yamaha vmax 500. So this is all these trailing arm chassis Yamahas of this era. Should be the same procedure. I was having trouble finding it before anywhere online, so I'm going to do one for you. So first thing I'm going to do is take the belt off. These are pretty simple. You just push on this helix, press and hold, and you can pop your belt off. And it gets stuck on the primary. There we go. Set that aside. And then we're going to proceed to pulling the secondary off. You shouldn't have to pull it all the way off, but I'm going to show you some of the inner workings of this. So this is pretty simple. All you need to do, set your parking brake. And then this is a 14 millimeter on the secondary. You can even still hold this. And I've already had everything loose. But you're going to crack this guy loose. And it's kind of a long bolt. It's best to get one of these ratcheting wrenches. And then there's a bunch of shims on here. Make sure you don't lose them and just keep them the way they were. So pull the bolt out and then this collar, and you'll see all these shims. Just leave them the way it was. Set that aside. And then this secondary can come off. Pull that straight off. And there's going to be at least one shim back here. Whichever way it was, just leave it that way. So just leave that aside. And the secondary is off. So as you can see on the secondary, there's some numbers. There's a 3, there's a 0, there's a 6, and a 9. There's also numbers back in here. A 1, a 2, and a 3. And we'll be using those numbers to adjust the degrees of preload on this twist spring. So from the factory, this is set to 3 and 1, and I'll show you how that works. There's going to be 3 12 millimeter nuts on here. You can use an impact driver or whatever to get it out. I'm just going to use a ratcheting wrench. Just want to show that this can be done with no special tools. So these will be tighter too. I didn't tighten these because I just had it apart. So loosen up all 3. And then you can take 2 off. There's 1. And then put a little downward pressure on here. Second one, and especially now that you have the last one coming off, keep a little pressure on this helix. And that drops out, and then this is going to twist on you. So here's your helix. I'll set that aside right there. And so this is your spring. Inside of here, I'll just keep the clutch together. But inside of here, there are 3 holes. So that's a 1, 2, and 3. So this spring means something. It has a red stripe that gives it a whatever the spring rate is. But you can also adjust your preload twist on here by changing the degree of preload. So from the factory, this would go into hole 1, which is right there, and then this would go into hole 3. So you put it in hole 3, and then you would turn it and push it down until it matches with the studs, and that gives you 40 degrees of twist. So 3 plus 1 equals 4, 40 degrees. If you were to do 2 plus 3, 5, that'd be 50 degrees. So you can do 1 here and 6 here, and that would be 60 degrees. So it's pretty simple. I'll put a screenshot of the service manual right here. Okay, so this is in slot 1 again. As it says right there, I use 60 degrees for my setup, so I don't use the factory 30 degrees. So I'm going to put it in the 6. You just kind of set it down. And this is where it gets a little tough without like the special tools, but you don't really need anything too special. So you just turn that, and it's going to be kind of hard. You got to put all that preload on there and then get it to line up with those studs. And probably blocking the camera. There we go. I'm just going to put my knee on there. It's got a lot more preload than it did from the factory. The 40 degree is a lot easier to push than this. So to get a couple nuts started, let me just get a couple of these started. Okay. Alright, that's good enough. Get this last one started. And I'm going to crank them down, but I want you to see what's happening here is this is lined up with this button here. So you got to twist it past that button and get these holes to line up with the towers. So I'm just going to tighten these up a little bit at a time. Just like anything else, you kind of want it to be even pressure. Okay, get those all snug, and then again just make sure that you're on there correctly. Everything looks good. Now we're ready to throw this back on. So here's our secondary. Remember, we have this washer back here where it was. Slide this on. You got splines to line up on, so you're gonna have to slowly rotate it back and forth and then push inward. So you'll know when you get it. There it goes. It goes all the way back. Your bolt with all the washers the way it was. And then just tighten your bolt. Make sure that these washers here stay all the way up under the sleeve, otherwise it'll fall down in there and you can crush it when you're tightening it. So just make sure that those stay back there. And then there's a torque spec, I don't remember what it is, but this is all I do. Parking brake's still set, and then just tighten it nice and tight, and then we can go through and tighten these guys too. Should do her. Now we're ready to put the belt back on. So put it on the same way it came off, usually lettering facing you. Fish that down under the primary, over the shield that's down here, underneath the secondary, about as far as you can get it, and then you just push in on this helix here, in and down. Keep some twist on it. And it's a lot harder to twist now than it was when it was at the 30 degrees. And that's it. Don't forget to take your parking brake off, and then you can rotate this back and forth, forward, back, and then make sure the belt moves around a little bit, so then this can close better, so you're not taking off with the belt sticking way down in there. now you're done. All you got to do is go out and take your sled for a rip and see how you like it. And you could mess around with all the settings, whatever you prefer or works best for you. It's a free mod, and it's something that a lot of people don't even know they can do. But there you have it.